No,
Yes.
no, rightly so, rightly so. Let me bring in Captain Sanjay Karve into the conversation as well. Captain Karve, I want to pose the same question to you, sir. As Group Captain UK Devnath pointed out, of course, we have to take the adversary's weapon systems and the weapons that they have always very seriously. And I'm not trying to diminish the seriousness of that, but I want to understand genuinely from an analytical perspective, if we talk about combat in the 21st century. This is perhaps the first time both India and Pakistan's capabilities have been put to a test, to an actual test in a real conflict situation, which was on the brink of, as many people are saying, could have been an all out war as well. From that perspective, Captain Karve, in your assessment, how exactly have the Pakistani weapon systems fared? Because when you look at the visuals on your screens, it's not just their drones that have been brought down by India's air defense systems, it's also their air-to-air missiles. And there were also reports that came in that, in fact, the Pakistani Fateh 2 hypersonic ballistic missile was also brought down by the Indian systems.
Devika, as rightly pointed out by Group Captain Devnath, a high-tech system or one of the most modern systems also requires time to settle down in a new environment. The training which is given to the crew, thereafter they need to consolidate. A classic example is the F-16s given to Turkey. Everyone thought that the war will turn the other way with the F-16s inducted into Turkey. But having a weapon and to know how to optimally use it are two different issues. What worries me today is this war has brought a totally different perspective than other wars. Most of the air fights or the airstrikes have been BVR, that is beyond visual range. The aircraft of each of the air forces have stayed within their own country, within their own boundaries, and fired missiles at each other. What it implies for us in the future is we have to deal with technology where you may rarely see a missile when it is being launched. You may rarely see an aircraft when it is getting airborne, or you may pick up that aircraft, but you may not be certain when it's going to launch it. So what it implies is you have to have a good satellite coverage, a live satellite coverage, a good command and control system, a good AVAX system, which has to be in air constantly monitoring. A real-time missile launch across the border doesn't give any time to the adversary. Even a high-flying supersonic aircraft, may it be a Mirage, may it be your JF-17 or your Rafale, the pilot in the cockpit would hardly get any time to take evasive action or to take an attacking action after knowing that the missile has been launched. Now there are counterclaims by both the countries about losses. We have seen pictures presented by the Indian side. There are also pictures presented by the Pakistani sides in the world media. If you look at the media on the Western countries, we get a totally different picture. What is a little worrisome is if you look at the stock market and the share prices. Dassault, which manufactures Rafale, its share prices have gone down by 3%. And the Chinese manufacturer of JF-17, its share prices have gone up. This is something, a very interesting aspect, because no financial market will run just on sentiments. Obviously, they have some proof somewhere. They know how the system has performed or how the system has not performed. For us, what is critical to note is a time has come that we need to get our numbers right. We need to get our figures right. And we also need to look beyond the conventional warfare tactics. When I say beyond conventional warfare tactics, does not mean going nuclear all out or using a nuclear weapon. What I'm saying is we need to use the information technology. We need to use larger networking. We need to use all the three services networked through either satellites or a central command where everyone gets a real-time information of what is happening across the border. Today, we are dealt on a very small level, a small border. Just imagine if we have to even counter China or maybe Bangladesh tomorrow on two fronts. We have a NAVIC satellite, fortunately, but there were also reports that there were signals or jammers on the NAVIC satellite, and it is rumored that one of the BrahMos missiles missed the target because last minute it was jammed or the Navig signal was jammed. Now, these are the things which I am sure our planners are already working on it. They would be having their lessons and they would be going back to the drawing board and figuring out as to how they should go about it to ensure that this does not happen again. We have that false confidence that the Chinese technology is way inferior to the Western technology. It is not so. If you look across to the US or the Europe or the Chinese market itself, most of the Chinese technocrats or the engineers who go to the United States to study for higher degrees, 60 to 70% of them come back to China, and they come back willingly, and they are the ones who are utilized or who give in their efforts to build up the systems. So this is a wrong fallacy to say, oh, Chinese equipment is substandard. No, it is at par, maybe a notch lower, but it is definitely at par with any Western equipment that we have in the market today. No country would be foolish, to peddle its ware in the world market, saying that, look, this is what I am selling, because it is going to be get exposed at some stage or other. For our planners and for all the three services and the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Finance, the DRDO, the HAL, PL have to sit together and learn lessons from what has happened. Like the Air Marshal had said during the briefing, that it is too early for them to inform us the number of aircraft lost or the number of aircraft destroyed or what actually happened. But with the inputs that they have, I think a serious introspection and a serious study needs to be done instead of gloating over the fact that we have won. In a war, actually no one wins. Everyone has got losses. The person who wins is who learns quickly as to what went wrong and how he can rectify those defects. This is my personal take on what has happened in the last week or so.
Okay, all right. Major General Singh, do you agree with that assessment?